Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For say this video, I'm going to be discussing the return of the mothership. Now, I'm not talking about aliens, and I'm talking about people who got abducted by aliens. When I mean by the return of the mothership, I'm talking about the original NBC show Law and Order, which made his debut just last night, and I'm viewing it the next day after the very first episode of Law and Order in 12 years. And if NBC didn't make the stupid decision of canceling the original Law and Order back in 2010, Law and Order would have been in its 32nd season on television, making it the longest running drama show on television, instead of the spin-off, which is Law and Order Special Victims Unit, which surpassed Law and Order, or the original Law and Order show in terms of years being on television. It's now been on, I think, like 23 years, I think it is now. I think it's in the 22nd, 23rd year now, so it's past the original Law and Order show. And on top of that, I think it had even more episodes than the original Law and Order show. And I remember I did a video some time ago about one of the Law and Order episodes, on Special Victims Unit episodes, and I was complaining over the fact that the show lasted longer than the original show. And it's like, how many times can you have a rape story? Because practically about 90% of the show episodes of SVU is about a woman being raped. Now, at this time, with all the episodes that they've done in this show, I think that's about every woman in New York City has gotten raped. I mean, that's what it feels like, and it's gotten to the point where it's getting ridiculous. Sorry about that. It's kind of ridiculous that it's got that. How many rape cases can you do? How many child molesters cases can you do? I mean, it's gotten to the point where I think that SVU should be the show that got canceled at least 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, after Christopher Maloney left the original show, that's when this thing should have ended, right then and there. But the show is still on. 11 years after Christopher Maloney originally left the show, it's still on the air. But I know I'm nitpicking, and I'm supposed to talk about the original show and complain about SVU. But the episode last night, I should mention this for those of you who didn't see the show last night. Only two of the characters, when the show went off the air back in 2010, only two of the characters remain on the show for I guess you could say it's a reboot, even though they're counting it as season 21. Only two of the actors stayed 12 years later, stay in the Law and Order universe, and there's Sam Morrison playing Mahan DA Jack McCoy. Still looks great for his age. I mean, I think he's in his mid-70s now. Still looks great. Still has the voice. His voice is wavering a little bit more, but he still does a great job as Jack McCoy. And Anthony Anderson, who of course plays one of the Detective Bernard. They're the only two who stayed on the show. Everyone else who was on the show when the show went off the air back in 2010, all the other actors are no longer there. They have Linus Loach, I believe that's how to pronounce his last name, who played one of the DAs. When Jack McCoy became Mahan DA, he became the new ADA for the show, prosecuting the cases. He left the show. He got another job when the show ended, as well as the smoking hot Ilana de la Guasa, who is now on one of the FBI shows on CBS. So of course, she's not going to come back because she has the contract with the other show, one of those FBI shows. As well as the guy who played Detective Lupo he's also starring with on the same FBI show as Ananda Glassa on CBS. So the two of them on another show. So so they're not there anymore. I know White Linus Loach didn't come back for the show. I don't know why. I don't know what he's currently doing. But the one who played Lieutenant Van Buren, who throughout the whole 20th season of Law and Order was going through cancer treatments. And the last episode, the last scene, she got a call from a doctor, and pretty much left you hanging if she was going to be okay and if she's going to recover from the cancer and stuff, or she's going to go into remission or whatever. It kind of left you hanging in the last scene. While the actress who played the part, she's now on one of the hospital administrators on Chicago Med, which is another NBC show. So she's not. When you know that the three of the actors, 3 out of the 6, you know they're not going to come back on Law and Order. There's another Glassa, the one who played Detective Lupo, and the one who played Lieutenant Van Buren. Those 3 were not going to come back because they have jobs on, they have jobs in other shows. But I don't know why the other actors did not come. Linus Loach didn't come back, and you don't know why. So only 2 of the 6. Came back, on the last year of the show. But one actor did come back. I don't know if she's going to be a recurring character or not, but she did come back, and that was Carrie Lowell, who played, I forgot her character's name. I'm a big Law and Order fan, I forgot her character, or Jamie Ross. I can't remember. Who played Jamie Ross for, I think, like 2 or 3 years on the show. And then she came back every once in a while. She came back as a defense attorney, and now for some reason she's all of a sudden she left the DA's office so she could spend more time with her daughter, and she was fighting for custody with her ex-husband. She comes back now. All of a sudden, all these years later, she comes back in the DA's office. She left at the end of season 8, and now, like 20 years later, whatever it is, she however long it's been. She comes back on Law and Order, or more than 20 years since she left the show. She comes back and she did get a little older, folks. I mean she did. I mean we all get old. She came back and she was a central part of this episode, of the first episode, which I know it's almost 8 minutes at this point, and I still didn't get to the plot of this episode. The plot of the episode of season 20, the season premiere of season 21 of Law and Order was a bit of the Bill Cosby situation. What happened was the guy who was like a Bill Cosby ripoff, because in the history of Law and Order they have a history of not just in the original Law and Order show, which I'm talking about in this video, but in the other Law and Order spinoffs, most will be on SVU more than the Criminal Intent show. They take headlines, real life stories out of the headlines. Early on in Law and Order was originally from stories from New York City. Stories that happened in New York City was on the Law and Order show because there's Law and Order in New York. And then all of a sudden it spread to like national stories. Eventually on Law and Order. And SVU was guilty of, all the Law and Order shows were guilty of that because the writers had no imaginations. So they took the Bill Cosby thing and they fictionalized it. What happened is that the guy who supposed to be the Bill Cosby ripoff supposedly raped 40 women. He gets out of jail, and the reason why he gets out of jail is because the DA, who was Jamie Ross, promised not to prosecute him. Sounds familiar? Right? Because the DA promised not to prosecute him, the judge says, because of the technicality, the judge let him out of jail after serving 3 years in jail. So what happened was the guy who was let out of jail after doing an interview, he ended up getting killed by supposedly one of his victims. And of course, the cops tracked down, and have it be the spoiler for those of you who didn't see this episode. From this point on, it's going to be major spoilers for those who didn't see the episode last night. He gets killed by his first accuser, or the woman who first came out publicly against the Bill Cosby ripoff character, and she admitted to the police that she actually killed the guy. So they do go to trial, and they didn't use the confession because they felt and two new DAs on the case. So like I said, Diana Stoltz's not there anymore, and neither is Ananda Neguasa. So you have two new DAs there to prosecute the case, and the DA says, or the ADA, I should say, says, I don't need the confession because I feel I have enough evidence. So didn't use it, and then eventually she gets on the stand and says, "Did you confess that to the police that you killed the guy?" And of course, that she did to hoo-ha, and the judge almost declares a mistrial. And then he says, you opened the door on this, and he has the right to, bring it up, even though you should have brought it, and even the judge said you should have brought it up before, much earlier. You should have used the confession before your opening statement. And then, of course, big spoiler, on the first new episode of Law & Order in 12 years, the defendant was found guilty. Spoiler! And they're all glad they were able to get the confession out of her. Or should I say, get the conviction. As the first episode, I thought it was great to see the old formula again, and not get into so much of the political stuff that SVU has gone into recently. Especially since Mariska Hargitay is now an executive producer on the show, where she throws in a lot of political crap now in SVU. I'm glad that they didn't have that much political. I'm not saying the original one didn't go into political stuff before, but I'm glad that at least for the first episode, they didn't really go into that. But I did like the fact that Sam Walliston did come up was complaining over the fact that people wanted to fund the police, and we have to work with the police, and they're getting crucified in every way, shape, or form. At least Sam Walliston was able or Jack McCoy was able to bring that into the first episode, actually defending the police, which is unusual. I thought that maybe Anthony Anderson should be the one who actually defends the cops, but since he's a black actor, they're not going to make the black actor defend the police. Because he'd probably be the one shouting that we should defund it. We should be defunded. Probably, because I think he has said that publicly. But at least they brought in a little political stuff in there, but not much. But in terms of the first episode, I'm glad the show is back. I have to get used to the new actors on the show. There's about at least three new actors on this. I should say 4 new actors. I forgot there's one actor that I forgot to mention, and it's Cameron Mayhem, who's now playing the new lieutenant on the show. And it's the same precinct, actually. I think it was like 24th precinct and 27th precinct, I think it was. Original one. Cameron Mayhem is now. You're like this fat, ugly woman as a police lieutenant. I mean, come on. The reason why it did that for Cameron Mayhem is because I used to like her over 20 years ago. She was on a television show called The Practice, and I thought she was quite good in The Practice. She was not my favorite character on the show, but I thought she was quite good. And at one point, she actually won an Emmy for Best Supporting Actress in a Drama for her role on The Practice. And her acceptance speech, she says, "Here's one for all the fat girls." I mean, I hate it because she's fat and ugly, and I feel she's an ugly person. She's a good actress, but I think she's ugly on the outside as well as the inside. For her to make a comment like that, here's one for all the fat girls, and acceptance speech at the Emmy Awards, because she didn't expect to win an Emmy because she's fat and ugly, and I said, well. You should have got an Emmy because you are an ugly person, inside and outside. So So, but she's now the new lieutenant. She took over from Lieutenant Van Buren on the show. So, but unfortunately, the problem that I had is that they had no references to what happened to the other characters that was on the show. There was one moment when Anthony Anderson's character, or Detective Benoit, says, "Oh, you're my like fourth partner in 6 years," or he's complaining that every couple of years he's getting a new partner, and the last 6 years he's getting a new partner all the time. He says he's getting disgusted because he has a new partner, and he keeps getting a new partner every couple of years, and it's disgusting, and he's whining and complaining over it. And he says, "Well, that's because you wanted to fund the police. You're ashamed of being a police officer." I mean, they should have brought, the fund the police stuff with him, but they didn't do that. But as a show, I mean, it's great. It looks like even though you have 4 new characters on the show, it feels like they haven't really lost a step on the show. And it's a good reboot. I'm so glad that the show is back on the original Law and Order show is back on the air. And for those of you who are watching this video, I have started a Facebook page called Original Law and Order Fans. And if you happen to like the original Law and Order show, please join my Facebook page. I already have I have less than 10 members on there at this moment. So please join the page if you're interested in talking about the original Law and Order show. This is my review of the first new episode of Law and Order, season 21, episode 1 of Law and Order. Please click on the video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please forward this video on your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews on my YouTube channel at rowdyc.com. It's all WDY.c.com. The homepage and my reviewer Christy Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.